What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back again with another Tottenham update for you guys, and quite a substantial amount of news coming out of the Tottenham over the last 24 hours, and we'll get into it all very, very soon. But before we get into the news, if you look at the bottom of the screen, WeAreTottenhamTV.co.uk is our website. You go check it out for all the latest blogs and merchandise. It would be really, really support the channel if you were to go and check out our website. So please do go check it out. And first up, we're talking about Heung-min Son. Paul O'Keefe gave a worrying update on Heung-min Son. He says that Son hasn't always been training lately. He's been managing his workload currently so he can play on weekends, and Son has been suffering a groin problem for the last month. I saw a video from when he got substituted after the Liverpool game, and he seemed in significant pain on the bench, which has definitely got to be a worrying sign for him. Postecoglou confirmed after the game that was always the plan that Son wouldn't play 90 minutes, but it seems to be something that he's been suffering for the last couple of weeks, because Postecoglou also said after the Arsenal game that it was always that he wasn't 100% going into that game. Coupled that with the fact that last season he had a recurring hernia problem, which he didn't get sorted for the whole season and only had surgery for this summer, and the hernia area is quite close to where a groin problem could potentially be. So I just hope that it's something that he can get over. It's not something that is a new reality for him, but we've had players in the past like Ledley King, although it was a very different situation, but he didn't train on a week-to-week basis, on a daily basis, and was able to play on weekends. But what's your thoughts on the Son situation?
Yeah, I think it's a bit too early to put him in the Ledley King camp, to be honest. Look, it's only been going on for 2 weeks. Ledley King, he had to manage his whole career in terms of not training. But look, it's very concerning in terms of, because it's in the same area as the hernia where he struggled with for the most part of last season. So if it's a recurrence of the injury, then it could become a real problem. But let's hope it's not. We don't know for sure if it is or it's not. So let's just touch wood and really hope it's not a recurrence of the injury. And he's just been called up for South Korea as well. It's just like, come on, just not go to international duty, rest for 2 weeks, even come off the team for Luton if you're not feeling 100%. Rest for 3 weeks even, and hopefully the rest can do him the world of good, and he can come back fit and firing after the international break. But we all know that he's going to play against Luton, probably 60 minutes. And we all know he's going to go out to South Korea and probably play 180 minutes. So it's very worrying in terms of the amount of football that he's playing and how on the cusp of injury he is. It just feels like he's like an injury waiting to happen, and he's going to be out for a significant amount of time, which is going to be no good for anyone, no good for us, no good for South Korea, and no good for himself. So if I was kind of instructing Heung-min Son, and if I was the hierarchy of South Korea and the hierarchy of Spurs, I'd probably take him out of this Luton game, maybe use him as a sub late on if we really need a goal, and take him out of South Korea as well. He doesn't need to be traveling halfway around the world and playing 180 minutes in what is probably essentially meaningless 2 games of football. So I think he should be getting a good 3 weeks rest now and really helping to get him back to full fitness.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I just hope, look, he is obviously such an important player for us, and he's our captain now, and that adds his importance. As you say, we just lose that cutting edge when he's not in the team, considering his finishing ability, and it makes even his performances even more impressive, considering that he's playing for an injury right now. Got a brace at the Emirates, got a goal against Liverpool. So considering that he's been suffering a groin problem all this time, that makes his performances even more impressive. Is he a player for you that, even if we did have a lot, obviously I completely agree, he's way too early to put in that Ledley King camp, but is he a player for you that if he did get to a situation where he just wasn't able to train and we had to manage him just to get him fit for the weekend, is he a player that is good enough to because very few players would hold that standing where you're not able to train but are still good enough that you're just automatically in the team? And is he in that bracket for you?
100%. This guy is one of the most elite finishers, if not the most elite finisher in European football. And his XG to goals relay that information and tell you exactly what you need to know, to be honest. So 100%. I don't think we can get a number 9 that is as good as finishing as Heung-min Son, or anywhere close to the finishing of Heung-min Son, to be honest. So Yes, I definitely subscribe to that idea of if even if he can't train as much as the other team, we still keep him around because not only is he good, as you can see, playing through injury right now and scoring goals week in, week out, probably going to get Player of the Month in the Premier League on the back of that as well. But it's the commercial side of Tottenham Hotspur as well, which he's desperately important to. So I think that all facets of the club, Heung-min Son is a very important key figure at this football club. And I think we need to keep him at all costs, to be honest. But having said that, even if we do have to keep him and have to manage his minutes, it doesn't mean we don't bring in another number 9 because I think we'll need that as well.
Yeah, 100%. But look, let's hope that he can get over this groin problem sooner rather than later and put this to bed. And look, if he can get Player of the Month with a groin problem, imagine how he's going to be when he's injury free. So I have to wait and see. Next up is another bad update from Charlie Eccleshare concerning Brennan Johnson, and he confirms that Brennan Johnson is still going to be missing this weekend for the Luton game. He isn't available for selection due to injury, and he won't be called up, or he hasn't been called up for Wales as well during the international break due to this injury. So something that's, was Spurs were trying to say that it was a minor thing. Ali Gold was saying that it was due to a tight hamstring rather than like a pulled hamstring or anything like that. But maybe this injury is a bit more serious than they're letting on.
The Spurs medical team strike again. How many times have we heard these kind of things? Like, oh, he's going to be back next week, and then we don't see him forever. I mean, it was a constant theme with Eric Lamela. It's been following around Giovanni Lo Celso everywhere he's gone in the Spurs shirt. Now Brennan Johnson. I mean, it's probably happened to other players that kind of are sticking in my mind as well. But it's so frustrating because he had such a positive start to his Spurs career. I thought he played well in the North London derby. He came on the previous game against Sheffield United and made a difference. And now he's out for we don't even know how long. So with him not being called up to international duty, I hope it's more of a precaution than it is actually he can't play for the 2 or 3 games, however many games Wales have got. But the sooner we get him back, the better, because I think he's got higher quality than maybe the players that we're playing there at the moment, like Manor Solomon.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really disappointing blow to find that he's injured. It's interesting though, if he would have pulled his hamstring, usually those are 2 weeks out, and then you're back in contention. So the fact that he's pretty much had 2 weeks out now, and he's going to have another 2 weeks on top of that during the international break, rather because of that injury. I don't know whether that's just because he's unavailable due to injury, or they just want to have him make sure he recovers 100% during that period, so he's not going to be made available for selection. I don't know, but this injury must be a bit more serious than they first thought, because you would have thought, maybe understand that he's out for the Luton game, but you would have thought he would at least might have been back for Wales in the international break, considering what they were saying. So the fact that he's also not made available for selection for them does suggest to me that maybe the hamstring was there was a bit more to it than just a tightness of the hamstring. Maybe there was a bit of a pull there potentially against Arsenal. So look, let's hope he gets back to full fitness as soon as possible, and hopefully we'll see him after the international break, but wait to hear official confirmation. I guess we'll hear from Postecoglou on Friday ahead of the Luton game officially what's going on with him. Next up comes from Cuti Romero, and he's been talking about the quotes from Lionel Messi, who said he is the best defender in the world, and he basically hadn't heard the quotes. He said, did Leo really say this? Wow, I didn't know it. I'm grateful the words like that are coming from the best player in the history of football. I'm not saying this because I'm an Argentine, but I'm saying because I like football. When he says something like that about me, is something very beautiful. I didn't know that he really said it. I saw some things on social media, but I didn't know if it was true. But now when you are confirming this, it is very beautiful. So Romero didn't believe that Messi really said those words, but it's funny how those things work out. You would have thought maybe Messi texted him like, "Hey, you're the best defender in the world, there," before I put it out on the in public, but it didn't quite happen like that. But nice to know that Romero's finally got the message.
Yeah, and look, best defender in the world, bit of a stretch for me, but I think he's definitely a top defender in the Premier League. So I think Cuti can take those words as a source of pride, coming from the best player that's ever graced this great sport. So I think he should use that, harness it, and keep getting better and better and better. And maybe one day he will be the best player in the world, best defender in the world.
Do you believe he hadn't heard those quotes before? Do you think he's just saying that?
No, he said that he had heard the quotes before, but he
But he
just
didn't
didn't know if
believe
they were
it.
real.
Yeah, he didn't know they were real. So there you have it. Last but not least, a story coming out from Liverpool, and this is really interesting from Jurgen Klopp. He has been speaking in his press conference today, and he has been calling for the Tottenham-Liverpool game to be replayed. He says that, I think the only outcome for Tottenham-Liverpool game should be a replay. It probably won't happen. I think it is so unprecedented because it didn't happen before. He goes on to say that also Diogo Jota got 2 yellow cards for not touching a player even once. This is also unprecedented. Rob Dorset from Sky says that the Liverpool bosses are considering what to do next in order to right the wrongs of incorrectly disallowed Luis Diaz goal between Liverpool and Tottenham. The matter is not finished as far as they are concerned. And Simon Stone of the BBC says, to be clear, there is no chance of the Premier League granting Liverpool replay. That was the position in the immediate aftermath, and that has not changed. So looks like the story is not over. We obviously got the audio, the VAR audio from the VAR room yesterday, to which gave much more transparency as to how that decision came about. And I thought, as much as it showed the complete incompetence of the VAR team, it was quite hilarious seeing them all scramble when they realised what had happened and what a mistake they had made. But Jurgen Klopp calling for a replay. I mean, what is your reaction to that?
Shameless. That man is absolutely shameless. Like, we'll start with let's talk about the red card first, because like the red card. First of all, does he know what unprecedented means? Does he know what that means? Because like, it means that, you know, it has to happen for the first time ever, and these situations. This is not the first time ever these situations have come across in the Premier League. But first of all, the red card. He's talking about someone, Jota, not touching a player. Well, first of all, he actually had a bookable offence before the first booking, which wasn't pulled up on. The second one, he's got a point to, because I don't think it was a foul, but there was still a touch there. And second of all, the third one was by far the biggest yellow card out of the 3, and it was a definite foul, and he hacked down Destiny Udogie. So I don't know what he's talking about there. So whether he deserved a sending off from those 2 challenges alone, I probably agree with him. He probably doesn't. But if you look at all the challenges that he made within the game, he still deserved to be sent off. So the right call was made in the end regarding Diogo Jota. So that's the Jota situation. The offside situation is obviously a travesty. It really is a travesty, because I've never seen such a bad decision being made on a football pitch, especially when you've got VAR and the noises that you're hearing from what was going on in that VAR room was just. It's like something that you would hear in primary school or something when they're trying to manage like a playground game or something like that. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
You had managers in the playground, did you?
Huh?
You had managers in the playground, did you?
we had fake managers, and then that's what they come across like. It's just a joke. Like, the whole thing is a complete and utter joke and a farce. But having said that, to be calling for a replay is just a very dangerous and slippery slope to go down. What are we going to start doing? Are we going to start replaying every single game where you get a bad VAR call? Like, it's just terrible way to look at things. And unfortunately, as much as it's going to pain them, you have to just take these things on the chin and just move on. That's what everyone else has had to do. So why are Liverpool some sort of like special club where they get special dispensation over a wrong VAR call? Like, in the last season alone, in the last 12 months alone, there have been 5 wrong VAR calls that goals have been given. And I'll list them out for you right now. Chelsea 2, West Ham 1, September 3rd, 2022. Maxwell Cornet thought he scored a late goal against Chelsea to make it 2-2, but the referee disallowed the goal due to a foul on Edouard Mendy by Jarrod Bowen in the build-up. Webb apologised to David Moyes after the incident. Newcastle 0, Palace 0, September 3rd, 2022. Crystal Palace were let off the hook by Tyrick Mitchell's own goal, ruled out after Joe Willock was thought to have impeded Guaita between the sticks. It turned out the wrong decision despite a lengthy VAR check from the VAR hub. Apology was given after the game. Manchester United 3, Arsenal 1, September the 4th, 2022. Arsenal's first defeat of the season came at Old Trafford, but a refereeing decision impacted the match early on. Martinelli was denied a goal after a VAR check decided Martin Odegaard had fouled Christian Eriksen. PGMOL later revealed that the goal should have scored and later apologised. Crystal Palace 1, Brighton 1, February 11th, 2023. John Brooks was taken off VAR duty for 2 games after he drew an offside line in the wrong place, denying Purvis Estepinian a goal. And finally, Arsenal 1, Brentford 1, February the 11th, 2023. Arsenal were denied 2 points in their race for the title after VAR Lee Mason did not use the right player when checking for an offside goal in the Brentford goal. Brentford's goal. Mikel Arteta was not happy after the game. He said there wasn't a human error. There was a big not conceiving and understanding of your job. And the apology was later issued by the PGMOL. So what are we saying? Are we going to replay all these games now?
So what
we're going to replay all these games?
What's the difference between those? Yes, they're all goals that should either been stood or should have been chalked off. But they're all down to human error. They're all big mistakes from VAR. So what makes this incident that's happening against Liverpool different to those incidences where VAR got massive rulings that related to goals? They got them wrong. So what is different? What's so unprecedented about this bad VAR call that Klopp has to come out and call for the game to be replayed? That would be unprecedented. Not the fact that the VAR got a goal decision wrong. The fact that he's calling for a replay. I can't remember when has a manager ever done that before in the history of the Premier League, or especially in recent times. That would be unprecedented. So
it's only happened once before, and that's when Arsene Wenger let Sheffield United have a replay when there was a dodgy decision in that game in 1999 in the FA Cup. But I thought that was more of just like a kind of decent thing to do because Sheffield United played a really good game. They were I think they were like in Division 2 or something at the time. And they granted them a replay of the game where essentially Arsenal battered them like 3 or 4-0.
Essentially, from what I understand of that situation, Sheffield United put out the ball for a because they got a player down, and they expected Arsenal to give them the ball back, and apparently some of the foreign Arsenal players didn't understand the situation, so they went on and scored, and they went on to win the game. So basically Arsenal being classless cheats as usual, and but look, fair enough, they did grant them the replay, and they went. So that was the only time it's ever happened. But I don't see where there's precedent for, or there's even justification for this game to be replayed unless we're going back and every time VAR makes a mistake now, the game's going to have to be replayed. And at what point does it get replayed? Does the game start at 1-0 Liverpool with Liverpool down to 10 men? Do they start just the game from normal when it's 0-0 and what? Is Curtis Jones suspended for that game? Even though he's been sent off, but that game didn't actually happen. So what happens there? Those red cards getting wiped out. I mean, that's a whole Pandora's box, which I don't think Klopp has even thought about when thinking about calling for a replay to the game. So I just think it's embarrassing that he's gone on public record to say the game should be replayed, and that's what he's calling for. I think he's not thought it through. I think maybe he said it in the spur of the moment, but it seems as though it's very like he's decided he was going to say this. Like the way he said it seems as though he's thought about it before and decided he's going to say this in the press conference. I just think he's got this totally wrong and hasn't understood what he's really calling for, in my opinion, because I don't think he's thought about all the problems that it brings up, calling for a replay to the game. So I just think it's an embarrassing situation that Klopp finds himself in, that what he's done.
Absolutely. It's totally embarrassing. You can't call for a replay for a bad refereeing decision. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And I have sympathy for them. I really do, because I know we benefited from it, but I've got sympathy in the case of it was one of the worst, if not the worst decision I have seen since VAR has come in. But that doesn't give you a grounds for a replay of the game. And there's just, like you say, there's just so many moving parts to it. You just need to take it on the chin and move on, and that's it.
100%. But let me know in the comment section below, do you think Tottenham versus Liverpool should be replayed, or do you think it's a ridiculous call by Jurgen Klopp? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. But thank you for joining us for another video. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.